All right, we are back with some more draft content. I know this is a little bit out of order from what you may be used to. I know normally you do a team review before your week one match, but life's been a little bit crazy lately. We lost a cook in the kitchen, and I've been spending a lot of time at work. Didn't quite have all the media and stuff that I wanted to be able to do the video the way I wanted to, which I'm still not quite there, but we're getting closer. But I'm going to go ahead and break down my draft, why I chose the Pokemon that I chose, and what I hope for them to do during this season. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Um, Going into the draft, one of the biggest things that was on my mind was how speed tiers have completely changed with the introduction of the new megas. At one point, 110, 120 was considered very, very fast, and now we have multiple mega Pokemon sitting in at over 150 base speed. So I wanted to make sure I could lock in a combination of mons that allowed me to not worry about just getting speed crept out of the game entirely. Um, Originally, that plan was going to involve Tapu Koko and. Hold on, I'm going to turn this music down just a little bit. I think it's getting a little loud. But originally, that was going to be a pairing of Tapu Koko and Iron Bundle. But Iron Bundle actually ended up going pretty early. I don't know if it was late in the first round or early in the second, but it never made its way back down to me. But with the first pick, I did choose Tapu Koko, and this Pokemon, I was kind of a coin flip whether I wanted to go Bundle or Koko first. I found out later on in the draft that both were going to be picked, so I had to. It was either or. I wasn't going to get both of them. But I'm glad I ended up with Koko because he is definitely the more versatile of the two Pokemon. He enables a lot of different things. First of all, you have the terrain, obviously. Um, for a long time, I was kind of scared of drafting Koko because of the Iron Pokemon getting free boosts in their terrain. But I kind of think I'm ready to be up to the challenge and try to use the terrain to my own advantage and not worry about how my opponents are going to use it. Tapu Koko is a Pokemon that can be used many different ways. Let me see. I've changed this to Natdex Draft. And one thing that's really underrated is his ability to use screens. He gets access to both light screen and reflect, which allows me to make the rest of my team more dangerous, while also being a base 130 speed, so he's plenty fast on his own. Mixed attacking stats, so we can go either physical or special, and versatility like that always ends up being super important in draft leagues. Um, it may be kind of a lot of points to be spending on a Pokemon that's not necessarily a win condition in most matchups. But that being said, I do think I'm going to be able to use this Pokemon to as much of his full potential as I can. Um, Going into the second round, after no longer having Iron Bundle, I was kind of at a loss of who I wanted to build this team around. I knew in this slot I wanted to pick something that I can bring in multiple times and just fire off very strong attacks. And what better thing to do that with than Palafin? As you'll see, the rest of my team, there's a lot of pivoting, there's a lot of U-turners, there's a lot of volt switching, and I just want to be able to bring this Pokemon in over and over again, click that strong wave crash, maybe be able to bulk up. The Jet Punch is also huge. I've also got a lot of priority on this team between Scissors Bullet Punch, Palafin, and Lycanroc, and Hitmonlee. And basically, that's my backup plan for when I'm just speed crept out of a game. I'm still going to be able to get hits off, strong hits, meaningful hits, and continue to go on the offensive. Palafin also has a pretty slept on move pool with access to moves like Bulk Up, Boom Burst, Chilling Water, Draining Kiss. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility for me to show up with special attacking Palafin. I mean, 106 it's not scary, but it's definitely nothing to not be prepared for, because when you maximally invest in it, say you have a Modest Nature, we're hitting 342, which is still a very respectable stat, and you have to be ready for it. So having that kind of versatility, along with the flip turn and the great usage of choice items, this is the Pokemon that generally this team is built around. Going into the third round, I picked up some more priority. I picked up my steel type. I picked up something that can be defensive on both sides of the defenses, even with only 80 special defense. The typings of bug steel is just so great that anything that's not a fire type attack is gonna have a hard time breaking through it. I mentioned before how I was trying to build around pivoting to be able to bring Palafin in as many times as I can. I don't think there's a better U-turn user than Scizor. He also has priority and bullet punch boosted by technician, which can straight up win games. I purposely chose regular Scizor instead of Mega because the item that Scizor holds can completely change the set that it does. You can be bulky with leftovers and be running a curse set. You can run Defog if you want to. Choice Band has always been one of my favorites, and even a Scarf Scizor is nothing to really laugh at. Um, Going forward, I realized that my team was kind of physically heavy, and a lot of the Pokemon that I was planning on drafting later on were also physically biased. So I really wanted to get a strong special attacker in here, and I ended up on Frostlass Mega. It gives me a great speed tier right underneath Tapu Koko, making sure that my opponents can't just cheat and, well, not cheat, but, have their EVs just if they're not able to reach Tapu Koko, but they're able to reach Frostlass, they're not able to just run Modest or Adamant. They have to go Jolly or Timid to be able to account for this threat. Um, I also like Frostlass because of the Bolt Beam combination that it has. It's not quite Stab, but I do have Electric Terrain boosting up those Electric type moves, so the Thunders and Thunderbolts are going to hit hard. With Snow Warning, he's able to just launch off incredibly powerful Blizzards, which Ice type is generally a type that you don't have very many switches in, so being able to soften up those defenses for the rest of my team. I don't really expect Frostlass to go on too many sweeps and straight up win games. It's more of a hard hitter to try to poke holes in my enemy's team. Sometimes it'll be running Destiny Bond to be able to catch somebody sleeping and even out the numbers, and just in general be able to set up things like Aurora Veil or Will-O-Wisp or even Spikes in some situations. And yeah, so going on to that, I wanted to address hazards. I wanted to make sure I had a solid rapid spinner and also a strong defensive Pokemon that I can feel comfortable bringing every week. And I ended up with Donphan. Obviously, a little bit less impressive than its newer counterparts in like Great Tusk and Iron Bun or Iron. Which one is it? It's Iron. What is Donphan's iron form? Iron treads. I don't know why I forgot that. But South Rocks himself, so it allows me to play the hazard games, although I really don't plan on valuing hazards that much around this team just because of the way it's built. I kind of want to build up my momentum and be able to have Pokemon that are not switch inable even with no hazard on the ground. But it's nice to have the option, of course. This Pokemon has incredible coverage, fire, electric, even poison type moves that it can hit. I believe it also has like Seed Bomb, correct? If I'm correct, yeah, it has Seed Bomb, it has Rock Slides, Super Power, just great coverage. Can be a good Assault Vest user. Having access to Sturdy is always really good in situations where you're trying to avoid getting swept. Encore is something that you might be able to see me bring every once in a while if I think Donphan may be able to bait out some sort of setup sweeper or something of that nature. Ice Shard, I've always liked that all the elephant Pokemon get access, all the ground type elephant Pokemon get access to Ice Shard as priority. Again, priority was a big focus point of drafting this team and trying to stay ahead of the speed curve. Defensively, obviously, 120 defense with 90 HP. This is going to be one of my main defensive tanks alongside Scizor. And it's also a Pokemon that learns so many different moves that it's able to run Assault Vest quite well. Moving forward, I grabbed another quite utility Pokemon. I think you might be noticing a theme here that I like to draft Pokemon that don't necessarily have one thing that they're good at. They're able to do multiple things. Salamence can be a great tank using Intimidate and Wish and things of that nature. And it's insane coverage. It's got access to Hydro Pump. It's got access to Fire Blast. It can be a special attacker. It can be a physical attacker. It even has access to Moxie. It's kind of like the brother to Gyarados, where they both share those two abilities. And so my opponents have to prepare for a Scarf Salamence trying to sweep the game, which I know that set has kind of fallen off with the introduction of fairy types because you can't really just spam Outrage. But against the right matchup, and if I'm able to position well, I definitely can see Salamence pulling off a few late game sweeps and winning me some important games. Following up with that, I really just wanted something to be able to deal with earthquakes. My team was kind of ground weak at this point and continues to get weaker with the later things that I draft. So I really needed a strong grass type. But I feel like a lot of grass types have the issue where they become a little bit passive and they need to be able to use like sleep powder or leech sheet or things like that to do like passive forms of damage. And I wanted to really draft something that was a little bit more offensive, something that could keep up the momentum while still providing useful utility. This Pokemon still has access to synthesis. It still can rapid spin. It has Queenly Majesty, so I can't get swept by like extreme speed Dragonite or other forms of priority. A great move pool. It's got physical attacks of many different types. It's got fighting, dark, fairy coverage even. So just basically, I don't see this Pokemon being a every week bring, but in the matchups where it's able to shine, it can be many different roles. It could be a defensive pivot. It could be a hazard remover. And even in some situations, this Pokemon does have the ability to sweep. Moving forward, I wanted to try to take some more advantage of my electric terrain that I drafted in the first round because I was getting to this point of draft and I realized I didn't end up with any of those iron Pokemon. So I needed to find something maybe with Unburden or something else that abused the electric terrain, and I ended up on Hitmonlee. This is my Terra Captain, so those close combats can come off even stronger. Hitmonlee also pretty recently got buffed in the fact that it has access to Sword Stance now, so sweeps are actually quite realistic, as we saw with my Week 1 match. The coverage is always going to be good with fighting types, I feel like, but this one in particular has moves even a bug type, and taunt, sucker punch. I mean, we're just able to cover all these bases, and if I can bring the right Hitmonlee set and position it in a way to trigger the Unburden, it's going to be able to do amazing things in these matches. Following that up, we were starting to get a little bit low on points, so I was just trying to dig through and see where I could find as much value as I could. Again, priority, as you can tell, is a big focus of my draft strategy. I just feel like it's very, very strong to be able to attack before your opponent. Even if you're in a losing matchup, you're able to get that extra chip, so then your Pokemon that doesn't quite one-hit KO or doesn't quite two-hit KO can come in and be able to do their job, even because they've gotten that support from the rest of your team. So we've got Stab, Accelerock. A rock type move that can't miss is quite rare. So being able to have that with priority on a Pokemon with such decent stats, like 115 is nothing to sneeze at as far as an attacking stat, and 112 is a really nice speed tier for my team. On top of that, it also has access to Stealth Rock, Endeavor. This could be something really fun that we pull off later. And outside of that, this is really just my best value in the situation that I was looking for. And then following it up, I feel like I really lacked a strong fire type. In a lot of matchups, a lot of teams have that strong defensive water type Pokemon, but fire is just one of those types that if you have a strong attacker that can just launch off moves, that's going to chip through your opponent really well. Magmortar has incredible coverage. It's got, again, access to an electric coverage move, which is able to abuse my electric terrain just a little bit more. I think this may even get Terrain Pulse, if I'm correct. Let me see. No, it does not get Terrain Pulse. Okay, never mind, I'm lying. But also, it's access to Belly Drum. I don't know if I'm ever going to be bringing that here, but it would be fun to do if maybe I'm locked in the playoffs and I want to bring something fun. But yeah, Magmortar is just here to fill that role where a fire type attack is really strong into my opponent, and we could just launch them off with all the pivoting I have around my team. That being said, that's the team. We're already 1-0. We got off to a great start, and by the end of the week, I will be having our Week 2 battle ready for you guys, and hopefully a team prep. Again, thank you guys for bearing with some of the production issues I've been having. I obviously don't have an intro yet. This music in the background may or may not be terrible. I've done a few tests, but I really don't know how it's going to come out until the video is out. So thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.